I'm attorney Michael Hargrove, and in 20 years of practicing family law, I've learned one universal truth. Money doesn't just change people, it unmasks them.
4, 8, 19, 27, 34, and the Powerball 10.
5 million gone.
We like to think of marriage as a partnership, a bond built on trust and shared dreams. But introduce a sudden, life-altering fortune into the equation, and you'll see how quickly for richer or poorer becomes mine versus yours. I've handled cases involving hidden, offshore accounts, secret second families, and prenup disputes that would make a tabloid editor blush. Yet, the case of Danielle and Emily Thompson stands alone, and the absolute chaos that followed.
Why did you hide it?
I didn't want it stolen or spent. Can't you understand?
To understand the catastrophe, you have to understand the man. Danielle Thompson was a small business owner, running a logistics company that was perpetually on the brink of either a breakthrough or bankruptcy. Was a man driven by anxiety, always calculating the next move, always feeling like the world owed him a break. His wife, Emily, was the anchor, a stay-at-home mother who managed the chaos of their domestic life with patience and grace. For 12 years, they seemed like the typical suburban couple. They had the mortgage, the car payments, and the shared stress of middle-class survival. But beneath the surface, Danielle was drowning. The financial pressure was mounting. Vendors were calling, credit lines were maxed out, and Danielle felt his identity as a provider slipping away. This desperation is what led him to the convenience store on a Tuesday evening in November. It wasn't a calculated investment. What's a Hail Mary? He bought a single, quick-pick ticket for the multi-state Powerball, $2. The odds were 1 in 292 million. He didn't tell Emily. In fact, he didn't tell anyone. Secrecy was Danielle's default setting when it came to money.
I can't keep this up much longer. This has to work.
Do you want coffee?
The next morning, the numbers were drawn. 4, 8, 19, 27, 34, and the Powerball 10.
4, 8, 19, 27, 34, and the Powerball 10.
This has to work. It has to.
And don't forget, the kids have early soccer practice tomorrow.
Danielle checked the ticket in his car before heading into the office. He checked it once, then twice, then 5 times. His heart began to hammer against his ribs like a trapped bird. He had won. Not the billion-dollar jackpot, but the second-tier prize with a multiplier. $5 million. It was enough to wipe out every debt, pay off the house, and secure their future. It was freedom. But here's where the story takes its dark turn.
Nobody can know, not yet. I can't let her see this yet.
A normal husband runs inside, screaming with joy, popping champagne with his wife. Danielle Thompson did not do that. He sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel, and a cold thought entered his mind. If I tell her, she'll want to spend it. Paranoia is a powerful drug. Convinced himself that he needed time to plan. He needed to set up trusts. Maybe even consult a lawyer before breaking the news. Decided to hide the ticket, but where? He didn't trust the safe. Emily knew the combination. Didn't want it at the office where an employee might find it. So, in a moment of profound stupidity born of panic, he shoved the ticket deep into the pocket of a pair of cargo shorts he rarely wore. He buried those shorts at the bottom of his laundry drawer. His logic? It was the dirty laundry pile he hadn't touched in weeks. It was safe. It was hidden. He went to work, carrying a $5 million secret. 3 days passed. Danielle was a wreck. He barely slept.
$5 million, is this real?
He snapped at the kids. He avoided Emily's gaze. He was terrified of losing the ticket, yet he refused to cash it in immediately, paralyzed by the tax implications and his own greed. Then came Saturday. Emily decided to do a deep clean of the house. She was efficient, thorough, and completely unaware that her husband had hidden the GDP of a small island nation in his cargo shorts. Danielle was at the office, catching up on paperwork or pretending to. At home, Emily scooped up the pile of clothes from the floor, emptied the hamper, and yes, she opened that laundry drawer to clear out the old items. She grabbed the cargo shorts. She didn't check the pockets. Why would she? Daniel hadn't worn them in a month. Into the washing machine they went. Heavy-duty cycle. Hot water. Extra rinse. Daniel returned home around 2 p.m. The house smelled of lemon detergent and fresh linen. It's a smell most people find comforting. For Daniel, in retrospect, it was the scent of doom. He went upstairs to check on his secret. He opened the drawer. It was empty. The panic didn't hit him all at once. It trickled in like ice water. He turned and walked to the laundry room. The dryer was tumbling. He could hear the zippers clinking against the metal drum. He ripped the door open before the cycle was even finished. Heat blasted his face. He frantically dug through the hot clothes until he found the cargo shorts. He plunged his hand into the right pocket. His fingers met something. But it wasn't a crisp piece of thermal paper anymore. It was a ball of pulp. A wet, disintegrated, illegible lump of gray matter. The thermal ink had washed away. The paper had shredded. The barcode was gone. $5 million reduced to lint. A sound escaped Daniel's throat, a guttural, animalistic roar of pure agony. Emily ran into the room, terrified. She thought he was hurt. She asked what was wrong.
What's wrong?
He looked at her, and in that moment, the love of 12 years vanished. He didn't see his wife. He saw the person who had just incinerated his future. He shoved the pulp in her face. "Do you know what this is?" he screamed. "It's trash, Daniel. It was in your pocket," she yelled back, confused and scared.
It's trash, Daniel. It was in your pocket.
It's
$5 million, he
bellowed.
bellowed. The silence that followed was deafening. He explained. He told her about the ticket, the winning numbers, the plan, but instead of shared grief, the conversation immediately turned toxic.
Why did you hide it?
I didn't want it stolen or spent. Can't you understand?
Daniel didn't hear her questions. He only heard his own internal narrative. She was careless. She was negligent. She had destroyed him. He spent the next 48 hours with tweezers and a magnifying glass, trying to reconstruct the ticket. It was hopeless. He took the debris to the State Lottery Commission in a plastic bag.
I had the winning numbers. You have to understand.
No readable ticket, no verifiable serial number, no payout.
He pleaded, he shouted, he threatened. But the rules were clear. No readable ticket, no verifiable serial number, no payout. They told him, "Sir, this is just paper match." He walked out of that office, a broken man. But that break didn't heal. It calcified into hatred. He went home, but he didn't speak to Emily. He slept in the guest room. For a week, the house was a morgue. Then Daniel made a decision that would stun the legal community. He began researching liability, not against the Lottery Commission. He knew that was a dead end. He looked closer to home. He looked at the person who physically destroyed the ticket. He blamed Emily. In his twisted logic, her failure to check the pockets wasn't just a mistake, it was negligence. Gross negligence. And he believed she owed him. Scheduled a consultation with a civil litigator, a shark known for aggressive tactics. He didn't tell the lawyer the defendant was his wife at first. He just presented the facts. Someone destroyed my property worth $5 million. When the lawyer asked who the defendant was, Daniel didn't hesitate.
Emily Thompson,
The lawyer
my
paused.
wife.
Suing a spouse for tortious acts during a marriage is complex, rare, and usually precedes a divorce. But Daniel didn't care about the marriage anymore. The money had already dissolved the bond. He wanted restitution. He wanted her to pay, even if it meant taking every asset they jointly owned. He moved out the next day, cleared out the joint checking account, taking exactly half and rented a small apartment. He left a note on the counter. It didn't say, "I'm sorry." It said, "You'll be hearing from my attorney." Emily was blindsided. She was grieving the loss of the money too, but she was also grieving the husband she thought she knew. When the process server arrived at her door a week later, she thought it was divorce papers. It wasn't just divorce papers. It was a civil lawsuit, *. Daniel Thompson v. Emily Thompson, *. Cause of action: negligence resulting in financial loss. Damages sought: $5 million. The absurdity was palpable. How does a wife pay her husband $5 million? The shared finances was a cannibalistic legal move designed to destroy her credit, her future, and her sanity. News of the lawsuit leaked. Local papers picked it up. Lottery loser sues wife. Daniel became a pariah in town, but he felt justified, felt he was the victim of a careless act that cost him his freedom. That's when Emily came to me. She sat in my office, eyes red from crying, holding the summons. She asked, "Can he really do this? Can he sue me for doing the laundry?" I told her, "In America, anyone can sue anyone for anything. The question is, can he win?" I realized this wasn't just a divorce case. This was going to be a battle over the very definition of trust and duty within a marriage. Daniel was arguing that a spouse has a legal duty to inspect every pocket, every crevice before cleaning. If the court sided with him, it would set a terrifying precedent. Every accident in a home could become a tort. A burnt dinner, negligence, a shrunken sweater, destruction of property. We filed a motion to dismiss, citing the doctrine of interspousal immunity, though that doctrine has been eroded in many states. We argued that this was a marital accident, a risk inherent in the shared life of a couple. But the judge, intrigued by the novelty and the sheer magnitude of the loss, allowed the case to proceed to discovery. He wanted to hear the details, wanted to know about the secrecy, and so the stage was set. Daniel Thompson, the man who hid a fortune in his dirty laundry, was taking his wife to court to make her pay for his mistake. He was determined to destroy her to salvage his own ego. As we prepared for trial, I dug into Daniel's financials. I needed to prove that his secrecy wasn't just eccentric, it was malicious. I needed to show that he intended to hide those winnings from Emily permanently. If I could prove that, I could turn the tables. I could argue that by hiding the ticket, he had already misappropriated marital assets before she ever touched the washing machine. It was a risky strategy. The deposition was brutal. Daniel sat across from Emily, his eyes cold, treating her like a stranger who had rear-ended his car. He recounted the moment of discovery with theatrical agony, but when I asked him, "Mr. Thompson, why'd you put a $5 million ticket in a laundry drawer instead of a safety deposit box?" His composure faltered. The cracks were beginning to show. The lawsuit hit my desk with the heavy thud of a dead body. Thompson v. Thompson, a husband suing his wife for $5 million. In the world of tort law, we see greed every day, but this was something darker. This was a man trying to monetize a mistake he had engineered through his own deceit. Daniel's filing was aggressive, claimed Emily had a fiduciary duty to inspect the laundry. He argued that her failure to check the pockets of his cargo shorts constituted gross negligence. It was a ludicrous standard to apply to a marriage, but Daniel wasn't looking for justice. He was looking for a payout. We moved immediately to discovery. I wanted to know why a man who just won the Powerball would hide the ticket in a dirty laundry hamper instead of a safety deposit box. Secrecy in a marriage is usually a precursor to an exit strategy. I had a hunch Daniel was already planning his life post-Emily before the first number was even drawn. The deposition was held in a windowless conference room in downtown Chicago. The air conditioning was broken, stifling and hot. Daniel sat across from me, his arms crossed, radiating a mixture of arrogance and desperation. He truly believed the law was a weapon he could wield against the woman who washed his clothes. I started simply, "Mr. Thompson, why did you hide the ticket?" His answer was rehearsed. I wanted to surprise her. I was waiting for our anniversary. It was a lie. His anniversary was 8 months away. Eyes darted to the left, the tell of a man constructing a narrative on the fly. Then came the forensic accountant's report. While Daniel was waiting to surprise Emily, he had opened a solitary account at a bank in the Cayman Islands. Minimum deposit, $5 million. He wasn't planning a surprise party. He was planning a disappearance. The trial began 3 months later. Judge Harrison presided, a nonsense woman who had seen enough divorces to recognize the smell of sulfur. Daniel's lawyer, a flashy shark named Prestige, tried to paint Emily as a vindictive spouse who destroyed the ticket on purpose to spite Daniel, and they brought out the evidence. Bag number 4, the remains of the ticket. It looked like gray confetti. A paper match monument to $5 million lost. The jury stared at the bag. You could see them doing the math in their heads, wondering if they would have checked the pockets. Daniel took the stand. He played the victim well at first, talked about the financial stress, the debts, the hope that ticket represented. He even squeezed out a tear. But his anger was a coiled spring beneath the surface, waiting to snap. My cross-examination was surgical. I walked him through the timeline. Mr. Thompson, you bought the ticket on a Tuesday. You checked the numbers on Wednesday. And you hid it in the laundry on Thursday. Emily did the wash on Saturday. That's 3 days you kept silent. I was busy, he snapped. Busy with what, Mr. Thompson? Researching divorce attorneys? The courtroom went silent. I projected his browser history onto the screen. Thursday night. Non-marital assets definition and can wife claim lottery winnings if separated. The marital accident defense hinges on the idea of a shared partnership. Daniel had broken the partnership long before the washing machine started its spin cycle. By hiding the asset, he had removed it from the marital estate mentally. He couldn't sue for the loss of something he never intended to share. His attorney tried to redirect. But the physical act of destruction was hers, he shouted. It was a weak argument. In the eyes of the law, contributory negligence is a heavy anchor. Daniel's secrecy was the primary cause. If he had told her, the ticket would be in a safe, not a washing machine. We called Emily to the stand. She didn't look like a woman who lost $5 million. She looked like a woman who had lost her husband. She described the routines, sorting whites, darks, and checking pockets. But Daniel's cargo shorts had deep buttoned pockets. She missed one, a simple human error. I trusted him to put valuable things away, she said softly. I didn't think I had to police his laundry for our future. That line resonated. The jury nodded. They understood the implicit contract of domestic life. Closing arguments. I stood before the jury and held up a replica of a lottery ticket. This piece of paper represents luck, I said. But a marriage represents trust. Daniel Thompson had luck, but he had no trust. And because of that, he has nothing. I pointed at Daniel. He isn't suing because the ticket is gone. He is suing because his escape plan failed. He wants Emily to fund the exit he couldn't buy with the lottery winnings. Daniel's face turned a shade of crimson I'll never forget. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the atmosphere was electric. Daniel leaned forward, his knuckles white on the table. He was still calculating, still hoping for a miracle that would validate his greed. The verdict was read. You find for the defendant, Emily Thompson. Daniel didn't move. He froze like a statue of avarice. The judge wasn't done. She had a few words of her own for the record. Judge Harrison looked over her spectacles. Mr. Thompson, this court finds your conduct appalling. You attempted to defraud your spouse and then weaponized the judicial system to punish her for your own deceit. Motion for legal fees granted to the defendant. Not only did he lose the $5 million, he now owed $40,000 in legal fees. The gamble had failed on every conceivable level. He slumped in his chair, the weight of his decisions finally crashing down on him. Emily walked out of that courtroom free. She filed for divorce the next day. It wasn't the money that killed the marriage. It was the realization that she was sleeping next to a man who viewed her as a liability, not a partner. Daniel tried to appeal, but his funds ran dry. The debts he had hoped to clear with the lottery winnings consumed him. He lost the house, the car, and his reputation. The last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment on the south side, working double shifts. The Lottery Commission eventually closed the file. The money went back into the state education fund. $5 million that could have changed lives, reduced to lint because one man couldn't bring himself to say, honey, look what we won. This case serves as a grim warning. For Daniel, it amplified his selfishness. For Emily, it amplified her resilience. The ticket was destroyed, but the truth was revealed. And in the end, the truth is the only thing that holds value in court. Sometimes late at night I wonder if Daniel still plays. He buys a ticket every Tuesday, hoping lightning strikes twice. But I know the odds. Universe rarely gives second chances to those who squander the first one on malice. The washer-dryer lawsuit became a minor legend in our firm. We use it to teach interns about the concept of unclean hands. You cannot seek equity when you have acted inequitably. Daniel's hands weren't just unclean, they were stained with betrayal. As for Emily, she remarried a few years later. A schoolteacher. No millions in the bank, but no secrets in the laundry hamper either. She sent me a Christmas card last year. She looked happy. Happier than $5 million could ever make her. Daniel, on the other hand, remains a cautionary tale. A man who held the winning numbers but lost the game. He forgot the most basic rule of gambling: the house always wins. And in a marriage, the house is the partnership. Bet against it, and you lose everything. We closed the file on Thompson v. Thompson. The paper trail ended, but the lesson remained. Greed is a powerful solvent. It can dissolve paper, it can dissolve love, and as Daniel found out, it can dissolve a future. So check your pockets, check your motives. And if you win big, tell your spouse. Because the only thing worse than washing a winning lottery ticket is realizing you re the one who threw it in the dirt. That's the story of the $5 million wash cycle. A tragedy of errors fueled by a comedy of deception. Case closed. But before I go, one final detail from the discovery phase that never made it to court. It wasn't relevant to the ruling, but it was relevant to the soul of the man. We found a drafted text message on Daniel's phone, timestamped 10 minutes after he bought the ticket. It was addressed to an old flame in Miami. It read, "I got the ticket. We're finally free." He never sent it. He hesitated. That hesitation cost him the text, and his greed cost him the ticket. He was betting on a new life, but he was too cowardly to close the door on the old one properly. He wanted the money to do the heavy lifting. It makes you think about the weight of secrets. Daniel carried that ticket around like a grenade with the pin pulled. He put it in the laundry not because he was careless, but because he was subconsciously trying to hide the evidence of his own betrayal. Psychologists call it self-sabotage. I call it poetic justice. The universe has a way of balancing the books. Daniel tried to cheat the system of marriage, and the system of chance cheated him right back. The last time I saw Daniel, he was arguing with a parking attendant over a $2 fee. The man who almost had $5 million was now fighting for loose change. It was a pathetic sight. I didn't say hello. I just watched him for a moment. He looked older. The anger had settled into permanent lines on his face. He was a portrait of what if. If you're watching this and you have a secret account, or a hidden ticket, or an exit strategy locked in a draw, take a lesson from Daniel Thompson, come clean. Because in the end, everything comes out in the wash. Literally. And when it does, you don't want to be the one left holding the lint. Stay safe, trust your partners, and good luck.